Let me get to you then, Mark. Lauren, thank you. Let's get to Beijing. Mark, what are Chinese officials saying about this?
You know, it's interesting. We've heard a lot of talk between the United States and China lately about trying to create a competitive business relationship between the two nations. But then we have this lingering wound being TikTok. In fact, Becky, it was almost a year ago to the day that we were talking about a hearing involving TikTok. But the feeling from Beijing is really portraying the United States almost as a weak competitor in the global arena. Just a few hours ago here in Beijing, I talked to a spokesperson from China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I asked him, regardless of what happens with United States lawmakers, there is this feeling of distrust toward Chinese companies from American lawmakers, but also American citizens. Let's take a listen as to what he had to say.
Even though the U.S. has not found evidence on how TikTok endangers its national security, it has never stopped going after TikTok. Such practice of resorting to acts of bullying, when one could not succeed in fair competition, disrupts the normal operation of the market. It undermines the confidence of international investors and sabotages the global economic and trade order. This will eventually backfire on the U.S. itself.
I also asked the spokesperson, are you, being the Chinese government, are you advising TikTok on how to conduct itself, how to handle these hearings? But the response I got was pretty much the same response as you just heard, very much.
DNA tests are illegal in Israel. Ask me why.
It's even illegal in the state of Israel to obtain this. And if you do obtain it, it's illegal to show it and or talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, my DNA. Now you might ask yourself, why is it illegal to obtain this in the state of Israel? Because it proves through your DNA that Jews around the world have no ancestral ties to the land of Israel.
I mean, duh. It doesn't take a PhD or an article from a Jewish newspaper to tell you that Caucasians practicing a religion aren't native to a place where people have been brown for millennia.
This TikTok caused a storm online, with many debating what his results, which show no trace of being from Palestine or the Middle East, despite being Jewish, mean. Yet, in the state of Israel, getting hold of a genealogical DNA test is highly restricted. Yet Dov Aharonov and the Jerusalem Post reported in 2019 that Israel's genetic information law blocks people from buying them from local pharmacies.
I guess boober Zionists think that if you just throw enough money at troll farms, you don't let people Google 23andMe in Israel, that they'll forget that they're not Middle Eastern. Like, it's not Jesus of Williamsburg, it's Jesus of Nazareth, right? I mean, that's fine. Like, there are dark Jews. There's Jews from Brazil, there's Jews from Ethiopia, and up until the 19th century, everybody was living in Palestine pretty peacefully. Well, I guess until the Nakba, when they got displaced or killed alongside the Muslims and the Christians. I guess even back then, in the middle of the desert, if you have a brown neighbor, I guess property values go down. I don't make the rules, but they sure as hell are racist as So then, if Caucasian Jews don't come from the Middle East, duh, where do they come from? I do not want to be called anti-Semitic, even if I've got Harvard in the background. So I'm just going to let another Ashkenazi geneticist tell you where you come from.
Surprisingly, GPS took us to northeastern Turkey. At first, we did not understand the results, but when we looked at some old books, we found 4 ancient villages named Ishkenaz, Eskenaz, Ashenaz, and Ashkuz, names that may be derived from the word Ashkenaz. This place resides on a hub of trade networks. This is where Silk Roads and other trade routes converge.
That's Aaron Hayek. He's a Jewish geneticist from Johns Hopkins who wanted to figure out where Caucasian Jews come from because, you know, like map out genome, get ahead of diseases. His contact in Israel is Dr. Aurelia Oppenheim. She's a geneticist in the University of Jerusalem, and she runs the anti-aging department. And for a while, the government called both of these two Nazis. Would you like to know why? Because they both figured out where Caucasian Jews come from. Wink, wink. They're 40% Turkish and newsflash, 40% Mongolian. As if the lactose intolerance didn't give it away. Like, hold on. Do you understand what this means? Like, okay, sure. Like, you don't have any ancestral tie to Israel, but like you don't have yellow fever. You're just dating your own race. Like real talk. What do you see in this picture? Like, is it a pierogi or is it a dumpling? Like, you say gefilte fish, I just see fish balls without the soup. Like, brother.
Welcome to RBN Wednesdays with CJ. I'm your host, CJ. That stands for Compton J. That I got that name actually being part of RBN. I didn't have it prior to that. Prior to that, I was just known as J. But we had two J's, and we needed a way to distinguish. So I'm the one who got the abridged or new nickname. So CJ is what I go by. Welcome everybody. I love how in the back office here, it now shows the viewership across a different platforms. That's something that's new that's showing in StreamYard. Besides Rumble is the only one that still doesn't show. So from everybody on X, we got them watching on Nick's channel. We got on Nick's page. We got some watching on the RBN main page. We got people watching on RBN Long Beach on YouTube. We got people watching on RBN Maine. We got people on Facebook. We got people on Twitch. So all across, and then like I said, Rumble. So damn near a lot of platforms. Let's just put it that way. But we woke up, or in the last 24 hours, I believe the House has voted on banning TikTok bill. And there's been talk over the last 12 months, I'd say. Maybe I'm overestimating, maybe it's 9 months, last 9 to 12 months of TikTok being a problem. And this is a great case study in how propaganda works. They had to talk about how scary TikTok was and how they were stealing your information and what they could do with the information. They had to plant those stories 12 plus months ago in order for this to happen today, without there to be people running at the protesting at the doors of the Capitol. Even though I think this should have you protesting at the doors of the Capitol. If you don't know what fascism looks like, and a lot of times when you're in the middle of something, you don't recognize that what is going on. Like if you're in a genocide, or if you're in an apartheid state, or if you're in all of us know, but I mean, you may not know what's going on. But with the banning of TikTok, to me, this is a clear illustration or example of fascism. They keep talking about Trump bringing fascism. This is an election between fascism and democracy. Really? This is an election between fascism and fascism with a rainbow flag. That's what this is a difference between. And anytime, this is a telltale sign here, okay? Anytime, let me put it this way, name something that the United States Congress does at warp speed that benefits the working people, the average American. Name anything. Now, separate question. Now, of the things that our government, the U.S. government, does at warp speed, is there a common sort of subject, topics? War. Ukraine money, that can be overnight. Israel money, that could be overnight. They got bills right now sitting to be signed for Ukraine and Israel. Labeling anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism because our government is bought by the Zionist lobby, that's overnight. I forget what they said about socialism. They did some other resolution about socialism overnight. We need help on this minimum wage. The parliamentarian says that's the United States government. Now, so the point that I'm trying to make is that our government does nothing warp speed that is good. And this latest example is does not divert from the tree. Overnight, within a few days, this bill is getting passed. It can be on the president's desk by today or tomorrow, whenever they say. I forget when they said the Senate might take it up, if they take it up. During COVID, I remember it was July. I can't remember what year. I remember during COVID, the COVID money was running out. There was a deadline for them to do something before they went on recess. Mitch McConnell and them took the keys and left and went home. Y'all remember that? I forget what year, but I just remember it was the end of July is when it expired. Anything for us, there's no warp speed. That is crazy that during a pandemic, we can't get warp speed on a pandemic. So there was a couple of videos I started out with. The first video was just showing you what the version of corporate media is saying. Of course, they're saying it's some sort of legitimate reason, which is just a bogus cover story. It's such a flimsy cover story to have, but it's what they're using. And then I showed this video about DNA tests being outlawed or severely restricted in Israel because this is the content that the U.S. empire wants to prevent. This is the content that is being targeted by the legislation on this bill. Videos that expose the empire, videos that exposes the empire's friends like the Zionists over in Israel. So again, for the sake of editing, I'm going to replay this because this was the intro. Let's listen to the type of information that's on TikTok, and you tell me why they would want to ban something like this.
DNA tests are illegal in Israel. Ask me why.
It's even illegal in the state of Israel to obtain this. And if you do obtain it, it's illegal to show it and or talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, my DNA. Now you might ask yourself, why is it illegal to obtain this in the state of Israel? Because it proves through your DNA that Jews around the world have no ancestral ties to the land of Israel.
I mean, it doesn't take a PhD.
Do you think Jonathan Greenblatt over at the ADL, do you think this is something that would piss him off? A video like this? Do you think AIPAC would watch this video and go, wow, this is a great history lesson here? Or would they look at this and be like, God damn it, we got to do something about TikTok? What is so, for me, I don't know if anybody else has this feeling. This is chilling to me because there's so many things that have been chilling. There's so many different examples that we've had in the last 12 to 24 months that clearly show we are blatantly not living in a democracy. For people to still believe that is so surprising to me, that they still, even if you believe that 24 months ago, it's just astonishing to me from COVID and that freaking, we don't even need to go into that, but we all know from the COVID debacle to Russiagate, and see this Ukraine war. I mean, it's just so many things, but let's stick here before I go off on this tangent. The point being, the content that's on TikTok challenges the U.S. empire narrative on so many different things. And I believe the protest, the pro-Palestinian protest, is really made them have to pay attention to, wow, we had no idea, because that's the reaction, that's the feeling I get, and that's what we were saying in our streams, Nick and I, and everybody was saying, like, it felt like the establishment was surprised at the protests. Like, it caught them off guard. They thought it was going to be like a couple of days. Oh, this is over. They were surprised at the sustained protest. They were surprised at the organizing that was taking place on college campuses. So they was like, what the fuck is going on here? How do we regain control? Where are young people viewing these videos? And then they go, TikTok, what? Colonization, occupation, what the fuck? You get what I'm saying? This is the reaction. Now, if you take away TikTok, do you think that takes away the knowledge that people got from TikTok? Like, do they think that people are going to go, oh, TikTok's gone, now I'm going to support Israel? Like, is that the clownish sort of reaction? Or are they just trying to, like, do harm reduction? Just prevent it from getting any worse than it is now. What I also wanted to do is show some more video. But let's first go back to the corporate version. Let's just get a baseline for their nonsense. And there might be I'll check and see if there's an update to this, because this video was uploaded from CNN, I think 5 hours ago. So I don't know if there's an update. But let's listen to what corporate media, CNN, is saying about fascism. Now, of course, they can't call it fascism. So anytime anything the government want to do, they have to create fear so that you choose fear over your rights. So with TikTok, the fear is China's taking our information hunting. And I'm like, what information are they getting? For example, on my account, not my real name, and I'm going to show you in a second, Compton J, that's not my real name. I could put in any birth date. As long as I'm 18, it'll let me open the account. So what exactly is the information that China can even gather that's actual, real, usable information, even if that was true? But they just say this. And they don't say it. They just say it where it's like, and then you go, where's the proof? This is just trust me. Just trust me, bro. Vibes. That's it. It's unsubstantiated. But let's listen to corporate media. That's the framing. Fear. China, China, China.
Well, teenagers don't often pay close attention to US congressional votes, but they may be doing that today, because what's happening, about to happen in Washington is hugely important to that younger demographic. Next hour, the House of Representatives is set to vote on a bill that would force TikTok to divest itself of its Chinese ownership or be banned in the United States.
Now, just to clarify, this was 1 hour before the vote. We are now 2 or 3 hours after the vote, so they've already passed it. So just under what the framing, understand is past tense now, so it's already passed.
Now, the legislation comes amid deep concerns about China's ability to access TikTok users' personal data and possibly use that to influence, for example, the November elections. Well, TikTok pushing back with a message encouraging users to contact their representatives and urge them to oppose this bill. Well, we are covering every angle of this story with Lauren Fox, who is on Capitol Hill. Mark Stewart is in Beijing, and Claire Duffy is in New York.
Now, understand, this presentation they're giving is not at all for information. You have 4 people that are paid by the empire to come on and represent state lies as news. So when you're watching news, you really have to understand these people are not at all trying to give you information to be informative. So with that said, let me let it play some more before I go into a rant here.
New York for us. Lauren, let's start with you. Why are so many lawmakers so exercised about this, so worried about TikTok?
Now, a real reporter, you know how when you're in school, how they tell you what a reporter is, and the press and the Constitution, they make it out like the press, they're out there digging dirt in our government and uncovering corruption. So what a real reporter, according to the fantasy they taught us, in grade school about what the press should be doing, she should be coming in saying, "Oh, this is a lot about nothing." You see, CNN host, the empire is really mad that young people are sharing true information peer to peer instead of going through them and accepting their lies. That's what a reporter should be saying, according to the fantasy of the press that they sold us in grade school about the Constitution. Let's continue and let's see how she does the exact opposite.
Yeah, this has been building for a long time on the Hill, and their key concern is the national security implications of teenagers and Americans at large using this app. Many lawmakers don't.
It is such a like slam dunk selling point for Western countries, Western sovereignist countries. Fear is such a centerpiece because, I mean, it's a lot of reasons, but fear of the other is such a integral part to the sort of Western framing, Western ideology, Western point of view. And it's in everything from, home security, this and I just was listening on Sean Hannity commercial I was listening to Sean Hannity on the radio, had a commercial where I think they're selling something to protect your house deed now, where somebody that monitors if anybody's ever, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's just fear on top of fear they use to sell so much stuff. But to me, it's an indication, it's a self-reflection that when you've done so much wrong in the world, you put so much wrong karma out, you know what I'm saying? You're always like, fear of retaliation, of revenge. But anyway, I'm on a rant. Let's continue here.
Don't use it themselves because of concerns about their data being shared with the Chinese government. The other concern that exists here is one of which some members who are voting against this bill say that they do not want to take away the freedom of users to operate this app. Now, I think that those two things exist in some ways, not in a vacuum, but lawmakers are going to be having this vote today on the House floor. It's going to require a 2/3 majority. They're bringing it under a suspension of the rules, which means...
Did you hear what she said? Needs a 2/3 majority. And like I said, it's already passed. So that means it already got 2/3 majority. Can we get 2/3 majority on Medicare for all? Can we get 2/3 majority on $15 minimum wage, which is $20 short? We can't get that.
it would have to get a huge number of bipartisan members,
And it
Republicans and Democrats to back it. And leaders are very confident that they are going to be able to get there, despite the fact that there are some Democrats who are warning that this could have political implications for President Joe Biden when he tries to rally the youth vote to the polls. Here's what they said.
I don't think it'll be helpful with young voters. But, you know, my argument here, yes, it has to do with young people, but taking a step back, I just think it's bad policy.
Successful politics is addition and multiplication. And cutting out a large group of young voters is not the best known strategy for re-election.
Now, President Joe Biden has said that he plans.
Now, to that point, hasn't that phrase that I think his name is Dick Durbin said, this doesn't seem like a good strategy. Haven't we said, how many times have we said that about the Biden administration? They fumble the ball on student loan. Like, why are you picking to wipe out student loan this way? You should use the higher learning. They fumble the ball on the strike breaking. Anyway, let's get back before I go off. I have a lot to get to, so I want to make sure I do, and I have to get out of here within 2 hours.
To sign this bill if it gets to his desk, but if the House can get it out of their chamber today, it then goes to the United States Senate, and the future is a little less certain over there. But
yeah, in the Senate, there is an American that has I think 20 or 30% stake in the company that owns TikTok, so he is lobbying heavily in the Senate trying to get this stopped. But I think this is really a pressure campaign to get the Chinese company to sell, because this doesn't go into effect right away. It goes 6 months. You have 6 months to sell before you have to divest. Something like that is the wording. But this is them trying to pressure the company to sell, because in the hands of an American company, they're going to tell you that it's safe. Your information is safe. Is it? Or they're just going to, they have so much confidence that an American company would censor, just like it's done on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the other platforms. They need it in the United States hands in order to have the ability to censor it. This is fascism.
Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said yesterday at a press conference he was still looking at the bill, still thinking about the path forward. So a lot of questions on whether or not this is going to have a chance on the floor in the United States Senate. Becky?
Let me get to you then, Mark. Lauren, thank you. Let's get to Beijing. Mark, what are Chinese officials saying about this?
Now, I played this already, but let's listen to the obvious jab at capitalists that the Chinese government officials takes right here. Is kind of funny to me.
You know, it's interesting. We've heard a lot of talk between the United States and China lately about trying to create a competitive business relationship between the two nations. But then we have this lingering wound being TikTok. In fact, Becky, it was almost a year ago to the day that we were talking about a hearing involving TikTok. But the feeling from Beijing is really portraying the United States almost as a weak competitor in the global arena. Just a few hours ago here in Beijing, I talked to a spokesperson from China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I asked him, regardless of what happens with United States lawmakers, there is this feeling of distrust toward Chinese companies from American lawmakers, but also American citizens. Let's take a listen as to what he had to say.
Even though the U.S. has not found evidence on how TikTok endangers its national security, it has never stopped going after TikTok. Such practice of resorting to acts of bullying, when one could not succeed in fair competition, disrupts the normal operation of the market.
when one can't succeed in the market, you do stuff like this. That's the how do they call them? Chinese Communist Party calling them out, saying, "Hey, capitalists, what's going on with the free market, bro? Thought you said you love some free market." True capitalists really hate that shit. You can see that all over Wall Street.
It undermines the confidence of international investors and sabotages the global economic and trade order. This will eventually.
And that is another economic. So the way they coming at it is not from a political angle. They're coming at it from, this is what you're doing economically by doing this. I guess, I mean, for a capitalist, I guess people who are, if he's looking for friendly capitalist ears to kind of help with this, I guess this would be the framing. So maybe that's the strategy of China, is to kind of have the framing. That's funny. The market is fascist. Yeah. Yeah. I see the trolls. Just let the trolls come. Let the trolls play. Long as you know they're a troll, then they're not, it's when we think the troll is a serious person. Just identify them and treat them like a small 3-year-old child. Not taking them seriously. But anyway, let's continue. All right, so let's get into some of the other items, but I do want to got some other receipts, but let's just look at some of the content of what the real reason why they're messing with I was about to say Twitter, but TikTok, and that is right here. So this is TikTok, and I saved a couple of videos just to give you an indication of what the sort of narrative that they're trying to regain control of. You're talking Ukraine war, but most recently you're talking about the Zionists and the genocide that's happening in occupied Palestine. So, but let's watch some of the videos, and we can maybe do a search and for some other videos. Let's watch some of the content that maybe they. Can you pause on here? Yeah, okay, you can. So, because I'm not on here that often, so I'm just figuring out how this works here. I don't know if you can expand this more, but I guess you can. All right, so this says Palestinian girl confronted an Israeli soldier in 2002. Let's go to the next video. Here's another one. Oops.
This video is for all the people that are saying that no Palestinian child would have been killed if it were not for Hamas. Let's talk about what the world would look like if there was no Hamas.
Because I see the question coming. Do you condemn Hamas for the atrocity? Yes, I condemn Hamas. I condemn Hamas. Hamas is the source of all evil. They're a reason for everything. And you know what? Let's for a minute imagine a world without Hamas.
Right.
What will this word look like? Let's give this word a name, and let's name this word the West Bank. Hamas has absolutely no control in the West Bank, and since the beginning of this year, only through August, 37 Palestinian kids were killed.
You're right.
No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. Since the occupation of the West Bank, 7,000 Palestinians were killed. No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas.
This video is for all the people that are saying that no Palestinian child would have been killed if it were not.
Let's go to the next video.
Would not leave them alone.
As I keep researching and learning about what's happening.
Oh, actually, let me rewind this video because it felt like some of that was cut off. Maybe I was in the middle of watching.
I was taught that Israel were the victims and that these Palestinian people were almost like these annoying people who would not leave them alone.
As I keep researching and learning about what's happening in Palestine right now, I can't stop crying.
This is a
a call-in to all Jews who support Palestine. When did you realize that the Zionist mythology of Israel was a lie?
And why do so many Jews support Israel despite it committing war crimes against Palestinians? And the truth is, we're not fed accurate information.
Can you imagine AIPAC, the board of AIPAC, hearing that? Their heads are exploding when they heard that. And we're gonna listen to a video recording. Nick and I covered this a long time ago, and we've all heard this video, a recording of Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the ADL, on a leaked conference call talking about how we've lost young people, how the divide is not blue and red, meaning the divide is not the Republican Democrat. The divide is old and young. So we're going to play that later, but let's finish looking at some of the content on Twitter. And this is the content that we're talking about, why they're talking about banning. This is the content that's outside of the bounds of a U.S. empire narrative.
Because despite all these things that are happening in Gaza, I've not seen any footage of Palestinian people cursing Jewish people or Israeli people.
Seeing what is happening in Palestine right now and seeing how these Palestinians literally are thanking God as they're losing everything. I would be questioning my faith if my entire family just got wiped off. I need to figure that out because I'm intrigued.
Let's go to the next one.
So if it's not clear by now that the Israeli government has just been lying to everybody, recently a spokesperson from their government tweeted this photo, and he states that archaeologists found the remains of children's teeth from the October 7th massacre, that they call it. And if we look closely, really anybody from the dental field can tell you that these are not children's teeth. These are adult restorations. You can see a bridge, a crown. It doesn't take much effort to Google what kids' teeth look like. It's kind of ridiculous at this point that people will actually fall for anything, and they don't put any effort into their lives anymore. And that's a member of the Israeli government posting this. It's not like some random guy in the street, you know, he's a spokesperson.
You hear this critique? Does this sound like young kids not having any information, having read anything about the topic? Is that what this sounds like to you? But this is how, when they talk about TikTok, kids are getting educated on TikTok. They would do a lot better to watch TikTok than to watch any of the cable news networks or the network news networks. Let's watch a few more of these. These are the types of videos, and I tried to get all like sort of viral videos that they need to regain control of, the narrative that is.
Spokesperson for their government, and he comes on their TV networks, and people are so indoctrinated that they'll fall for anything these days. So I just want to quickly remind everybody, don't stop posting about Palestine. Don't stop sharing these videos. Keep boycotting these chains that support Israel. We're actually making a big difference. A lot of Starbucks locations have been cutting their hours or just closing down.
Starbucks. You don't think Starbucks kind of called in, hey, could you guys do something about TikTok? It's having us lose our business. This is crazy, but it also shows how the people needs a different line of communication worldwide. Because when the capitalists want to take it away, they just take it away and say it's for your own good. Let's move to the next one so we can get through some of these.
I'm not exaggerating. A Palestinian child is killed every 15 minutes.
Let's try to wrap our minds around this. Every 15 minutes, a child in Gaza is killed, which means every hour, 4 children are murdered, which means at that rate, every day, 100 Gazan children are slaughtered. How has the world not frozen still to condemn this unequivocally? How has the entire global community not joined in solidarity to universally proclaim end the genocide, wherein half of Gaza are children being slain at the rate of 100 per day? There's no excuse for this. There's no justification for this. There's no sort of military tactic that you could say that this is other than genocide. This is genocide. And I understand certain statistics get so mind-boggling that we become desensitized, but do not let yourself become numb to the murder of children, the mass murder of children.
I'm not exaggerating. A Palestinian child is killed every 15 minutes.
Let's try to wrap our minds around this.
Let's go.
About the way that you addressed her. Do you have any regret? Or do you feel you could have expressed yourself differently? Or do you feel that it accurately represented how you were feeling?
I'm not going to waste my time talking about the report with Larissa because this takes away from the point. You mentioned before there was a deadlock in the debate. There's no deadlock in the debate. There is terror in the debate. You are unable to debate with Israel because what's happened so far is we're witnessing the sick relationship between the United States and Israel. The United States has given a permission for Israel to have genocide on ground. And what's happened is we're seeing no one can say no to Israel. The United Nations isn't able to say no to Israel without repercussions.
When you hear what she's saying in that video, they're pulling their hair out. The Zionist lobby is pulling their hair out. This is George Galloway.
Because I'm feeling threatened by you. Don't come any closer to me. What's that up your jumper?
This is an Israeli flag. I'm an Israeli, Mr. Galloway. And you speak with fascists in Beirut. You interview Mr. Ahmadinejad for Press TV.
You're doing yourself a lot of harm here, son.
Yeah. I think you did a lot of harm by not speaking to my friend Elon and having a constructive dialogue with him. And sir, I don't have a question for you, as you can see, because I don't debate with racists. Thank you, sir.
Well, it's funny, the last time I saw that flag was on Saturday. And you can consult innumerable sources on the internet about this. The last time I saw that flag was on Saturday in Bradford, held aloft by the English Defence League. It's there, published in many newspapers, broadcast on many news bulletins. And I think that it's come to something, that England's fascist formation finds the flag of Israel the most appropriate flag to fly.
All right. I love these videos. I can go on and on, but I promise you, let's say maybe two more. Let's see, two more. What is this?
How can you live together?
But they deny my right to exist.
If you have zero empathy in your own words with those people.
No, it's not what I said. I said I have zero sympathy to the fact that they lost their land. They didn't lose their land. They committed the crime of attacking the small state of Israel after the UN decision.
So that there is no, the truth is there is no empathy between
I have
you and the
empathy for
Palestinian
the
people.
tragedy of the leadership. Yes, I have empathy that they're under the tragedy of their leadership.
This is a very hopeless conversation, then, isn't it?
No, it's not, because I think what's really hopeless is to build imaginary solutions. What's really hopeless is to think that a terror organization is something that will never hurt you. I think that the imaginary and the illusionary discourse that many people have need to be stopped.
This is the type of videos that goes viral where they're
Israel
looking
is going to bomb a hospital.
They're looking terrible.
Not this one that was bombed last week. Israel
Let's listen
is
to this
going
one.
to bomb a hospital. Not this one that was bombed last week. This one, Al-Shifa Hospital, Gaza's largest hospital, which is currently sheltering more than 50,000 Palestinians seeking refuge from Israel's bombs and treating thousands of.
Now, you remember the narrative they tried to sell about hospital bombings or one of the hospital bombings? And then TikTok is given a completely different accounting of it. That's how the information spread so rapidly. And this is another reason why they're coming after TikTok. Remember, this is one of the events that happened. The hospital event happened, and then they came out and told the truth. And then the establishment got mad because the corporate media didn't take the time to wait so they can come up with an establishment lie. They try to come up with an establishment lie after the fact, and it didn't work. It did not work. And it was like, how did and then it was, I remember Sean Hannity and Morning Joe were doing content on it, talking about we have to do something. And on social media, all this they call it misinformation is just spreading so quickly about the hospitals. That's when they knew they had to get rid of, not just talk about getting rid of TikTok, and suppress the other and keep suppressing the other social media accounts the way they've already been doing. Now, this has kind of already gone longer than I wanted to go, but it's okay. It is the main topic of today, and then the other ones are kind of shorter stories. Let's go to TikTok now. So, Twitter now to go over some of the other receipts to cover, get some more reaction about the story, and go over some other. Oh, so let's now go to this part here. Remember, I said we had a recording of David Blatt. I'm sorry, I keep saying David Blatt because David Blatt is the coach, former coach of the Cleveland Cavs. I keep saying that. But anyway, his name is Jonathan Greenblatt. Let's listen. This is the leaked audio of him speaking about the issues and how this, what he calls misinformation, the lies about trying to explain why there was such a large gathering of young people who are on the opposite side of Israel. So let's listen. Oh, let's see if it works here. Wait. Oh, that's just the picture. I gotta find the video. But anyway, I'll come back to that. So I showed you this video. So this is we're gonna come back to this article too. But I showed you the video on the DNA. This is another one. This is Margaret Kimberly, and she says, and this, my friends, is why they're going to ban TikTok. And this is another example of just a based TikTok clip. I did some content on this. There's actually it's either, what are those little shorts? I think it's a short. You can find this step-by-step directions on how to say you're not going to vote for genocide or something like that. But let's listen. This is another base video. This is the one that Margaret Kimberly points out.
I will not support anyone who supports and funds genocide. Then you're going to be the reason Trump gets reelected, and then all your rights will be taken away. I will not support anyone who supports and funds genocide. Well, when the Republicans get in office, they're going to go ahead and make this back to Jim Crow South, and Black people won't have any rights. I will not support anyone who supports and funds genocide. I understand. I am anti-genocide too, but it would be way worse if anyone else was in the office that isn't blue. I will not support anyone who supports and funds genocide. You think the Republicans won't kill Palestinians? They'll kill more. I will not support anyone who supports and funds genocide. We need to think about us and only us in this country. You think they'd care about you? Oh, for the love of God, I will not support anyone who supports and funds genocide. They brought this on themselves. They're just anti-Semitic. I'm still not supporting anyone who supports and funds genocide.
Step-by-step directions on how to respond to a Zionist. I think it might be something like that. But that's an all-time favorite video that I posted on X. Margaret Kimberly shouted out that video. I've already showed you the DNA video. And then we're not going to read this article, but this is from The Hill, and it says, Rep. AOC says she will vote no on legislation forcing TikTok parent company to divest from the app or face a ban in the U.S. This bill was incredibly rushed from committee to vote in 4 days with little explanation. And this was I was speaking to. Warp speed. There's certain things that go in warp speed and they're never good. Not by this government. And I'm talking about warp speed as far as legislation. And this is the count. This is the vote count that Nick is shouting out here. Let's read what Nick says, and then we'll go to the video. He says, insane censorship bill passes the U.S. House in order to protect Israel and silence alternative news. The ruling class banned TikTok because empire propaganda was being debunked on the app. Every other excuse they make is exactly that, an excuse to crack down on free speech. And that's spot on. And this is from Hotspot. Somebody asked in the comments yesterday, what is Hotspot? This is Hotspot. Hotspot is an account that puts together these anti sort of empire content. Here is the vote that's showing the passage of it. Just a quick little video. It is what it is, guys. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Let's go to the next video now. And this is the reaction of a person who has content or a business on TikTok. They go on CNN and they're trying, I guess CNN is trying to get a feel on how people are going to react to this. Young people, black people, black ownership, I guess. That's who they're asking. So they reach out to this young lady, and I'm not sure they expected the response she gave. Let's listen.
So how would it change your business if TikTok were owned by an American company instead of a Chinese company?
I believe it would change the dynamics of TikTok. It would change the culture of TikTok.
Now, I don't know if you can hear her voice shaking. Now, it could be because she's nervous. I don't read it that way, but let's say that could be a possibility. I believe she's so upset about this, and she's trying to stay calm. That's why I believe her voice is slightly shaky in the beginning there. As she is steaming mad about this, because you can tell by the end of her answer. Let me let it play.
I believe it would change the dynamics of TikTok. It would change the culture of TikTok. We will be limited to what we can say and limited what we can do, which is against the American way.
So how would it change
your
business if TikTok were owned by an American company instead of a Chinese
This
company?
is the trait she's saying an American company would have.
I believe it would change the dynamics of TikTok. It would change the culture of TikTok. We will be limited to what we can say and limited what we can do.
Limited on what we can say and limited on what we can do. And she is a business owner, and they put her up here. Her name, let's give her the respect. Summer Lucille, I believe that's how you say her last name. It's an aunt of mine. She spells it that way, but I've heard it pronounced a different way before. But Summer Lucille is the way I believe it's pronounced. Founder and owner, Juicy Body Goddess Boutique. So I believe she runs her business, and there's like people that run their business on live and they sell stuff, sort of like a home shopping network, but it's on TikTok. And now I'm not saying she falls in that. She could, but I don't know her business well enough to know that. But this is them asking a business owner, a black business owner, a black female business owner. This is a target audience, a target constituency for Vote Blue, no matter who.
Which is against the American way.
She's saying that an American company would restrict it more. American company would censor it more. That's what she's getting to. Let's go to the next one here. And this one by Ling Jingjing. I believe she's a reporter out there. Now she posts reaction from people on TikTok. And this is what she says. American TikTok users are very aware of why the U.S. wants to ban TikTok. The U.S. government is not interested in solving gun violence, growing homeless, growing cost of almost everything, but it's so eager to ban one app immediately. So they're not fooling anybody, regardless of what they're saying on TV. And I'll just read a couple of comments. She's posting just comments on TikTok and how people are not fooled by this. Here's one. Sounds to me like they want that TikTok money going to an American billionaire's pocket. If they do sell to an American company, I'm sure we'll be seeing 3 ads for every video we see. I'm going to miss it. It's been a big part of our lives. And also, we've learned so much on here. We're opening our eyes. This is what they don't want. And that's why they don't want it. And yet they do nothing about homelessness, shootings, healthcare, foster care, people losing rights. But let's ban an app. And it just, it goes on and on that. All right, let's go to the last part of this, which is the article. And I'm going to actually read all of it on here. I think I clipped enough that I can just read enough of it here, I believe. Or I can bring it up. I'll bring it up just in case I do want to read a little bit more. So how about that? I'll bring it up in the background. But let's read the snippet I got from this article. And it says, Biden says he will sign law banning TikTok if Congress passes it. You might be able to hear some emergency vehicles. Let me let them pass first. I'll say it again. Biden says he will sign law banning TikTok if Congress passes it. And here's a snippet from this article. This is from World Socialist website. There are deep growing fears within the ruling class that social media platforms like TikTok are undermining the imperialist narrative about the US-NATO war against Russia in Ukraine and the genocide being carried out by Israel in Gaza. This is about narrative. This is about narrative control. And the thing is, they know that cable news ratings is literally on a trajectory of just going down, down, down. They know people aren't watching corporate media. I'm not sure they think by banning TikTok, like let's say the ban goes into effect, do they think people are gonna go back to corporate media to watching Anderson Cooper? Do they think that's what's going to happen? But let me get back to the article so we can get to some other stories here. Let's continue. It is a fact that independent social media publishing, especially posts exposing the crimes committed by the Zionist Israeli Defense Forces in Gaza, is cutting across the lies being told by the U.S. government and corporate media about the genocide against Palestinians. And I'll pause there. Didn't you remember the videos I showed you? This speaks directly to that. The videos I showed you are all critiques and analysis about what's happening in Palestine or occupied Palestine, but not from the U.S. narrative. And that's the problem that they're having. It's showing up in the streets and protests. It's showing up in the polls when not voting for Joe Biden. So this has become either enemy number one or maybe enemy number two, because enemy number one may still be trying to get money for Ukraine, because that seems to be the thing that they've been on and still going to stay on. Yes, here's another critique or another analysis of TikTok. TikTok live streams have shown me how absolutely psychotic Israeli and Zionists actually are. So you have a device that is exposing crimes, atrocities, corruption, and other points of views that people are relating to. Let's continue. Let me start right here. I'll read this part again. It is a fact that independent social media publishing, especially posts exposing the crimes committed by the Zionist Israeli Defense Forces in Gaza, is cutting across the lies being told by the U.S. government and corporate media about the genocide against Palestinians, especially the despicable lie that opposition to Israel and Zionism is synonymous with anti-Semitism. They can't sell that. If they keep us in separate rooms, they can sell us stories that we don't know. But if all of us, we're like collectively like, we don't buy this bullshit, and sharing it with others who could be vulnerable to that information. But then when they see true information on TikTok, they're like, okay, now I know. Let's continue with the article. In response, an effort is being mounted to get control and manipulate the content of the social media platform through methods of censorship. While Democrats and Republicans speak endlessly about unsubstantiated claims that TikTok is enabling the Chinese government to gather data on the American public, there has been repeated reports by the U.S. government itself that intelligence agencies and law enforcement are violating Fourth Amendment's rights by carrying out surveillance of the electronic communications of everyone without a warrant. Also, the transparent purpose, meaning this part of why they're canceling TikTok, this is the cover story, meaning this is what they mean by the transparent purpose of the bill is to whip up anti-China hysteria. China, they're stealing our information. So the transparent purpose of the bill is to whip up anti-China Chinese hysteria within the U.S., setting the groundwork. Like I said, they got to set these little seeds of propaganda so that it blossoms. And then there's stories that they can just drop out and you believe. So this is how you set the foundation to sell other propaganda down the line. This is what they're doing. Where did I leave off here? The campaign is based on unsubstantiated claims that the data of the more than 100 million U.S. users of TikTok is being analyzed by the Chinese government to spy on the American population and manipulate public opinion. Confident of the bipartisan support for the bill, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise said on Monday that he would try to speed it to a vote under procedures reserved for non-controversial legislation requiring a 2/3 majority passage. So that's how they got it. It was an expedited process here. 1 second. This is the end of the segment, but there's somebody knocking at my door. Let me make sure nothing's wrong here. I promise it'll be like 60 seconds here. The fuck? Somebody's knocking at my door. I'm not sure. They're knocking pretty hard. So give me 60 seconds here. Okay, I'm back. My wife had locked herself out of the screen door. We have a screen door to our front door. I guess when she closed it, it locked on her, so she was locked out. So yeah, that was funny. But anyway, just to kind of wrap up and give a last thought. That was the last part of the article that I was going to read. I don't need to read the entire article. I took out the most important parts that was pertinent to the story. But more broadly, this is just, these are all signs of a collapsing empire, and the things they're willing to do to sort of regain that power, to sort of regain that control. This is just one of many. This is not the only one. This is not the last time. This is not first time. This is not the last time. There's going to be more of this sort of repressive censorship coming. We saw it with the Twitter files. We're seeing it here with this pressure campaign to get this Chinese company to sell TikTok to an American company that can obviously be co-opted by U.S., NATO, CIA talking points. There's actually one more thing I did want to read here. This one right here. Speaking for wide layers of the American political establishment, Scalise articulated that the anti-China basis of the law, saying, quote, "We must ensure the Chinese government cannot weaponize TikTok against American users and our government through data collecting and propaganda." Amazing for that to come from a U.S. lawmaker, but that is what it is. All right, let's get to some other stories, and let me just briefly put the graphic up and tell you what those other stories are. We're going to be talking about how Malcolm X warned us about Fat Joe. We're also going to talk about Biden's budget promotes war. And then Haiti under siege, the lies about Haiti gangs. We're also going to talk about that Gaza humanitarian port that Biden said he wants to build. That was Netanyahu's idea. So we're going to cover that exclusive article on that. And then progressives like Pramila Jayapal on the far left are Joe Biden's top surrogates. And AOC is another one, Bernie Sanders. And then hopefully I get to these last two stories. The tragic absurdity of Biden's Gaza policy. And then the reason you see Abby Martin there, I do have a video. Abby Martin, Israeli doctors urge the bombing of hospitals. There is a video she has with an interview, so I'm going to cover that. So those are all the other stories. I didn't know that this first story was big. There was a lot of content, and I didn't even get to everything. Like, I haven't played you the most recent corporate news clip of this that's after the passing of the bill, and then some other receipts. I tried to condense it, even though it did go over 60 minutes, but it was a lot to get to. This is fascism, everybody. Make sure you understand that. Understand where we are in history here. All right, one super chat, and then we get to our next story. And we're just going to kind of, knock these out one by one after another. Let me bring up the right the back office for my YouTube. But this says, meanwhile, Florida schools ban phones, endangering kids. Florida schools is out here banning phones. And thank you to Helpful Harm. That's a pretty unique name, Helpful Harm. Thank you for that $1.99 super chat. Let's see where we are. I hope you guys are liking the graphics on the clips. We decided we changed up the look of our clips, tried to give it a different, distinct look. We're at 200 likes on YouTube on the main channel. The target is 800. Can we jump that up at least another 100 for the next segment? If you hit that like button, let's jump it up to 300 at least for the next segment, and then 800 is a target for the entire stream. Hit that like button on YouTube, wherever you're watching, on Twitter. Make sure you're sharing if you're watching on Twitter, on Facebook. We want to get a bigger footprint on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, we want to, slowly move into the liberal sort of neighborhoods on Facebook. So share our content there. On Twitch, also share if you're watching on Twitch, and of course on Rumble. Share. So wherever you're at, share the content. Let's now get into the next story, and that is Malcolm X warned us about Fat Joe. So Malcolm X warned us about Fat Joe. You're gonna get what that means. That's kind of an odd. I don't know if it's odd, but it's sort of a weird pairing, Malcolm X and Fat Joe. But let me show you what I mean. This is a short clip from Malcolm X. I've played this clip before. You see what I mean after. I'll make comment after I play it. So let's listen to Malcolm X with one of his famous quotes that I love.
Just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear. Just told you a little while ago, these leaders.
He says, where do you see in the white community that entertainers are uplifted as some sort of community leaders? But you see that all the time in communities of color. You see Jay-Z out there. You see Common out there, the rapper Common. You'll see, who else do they bring out? On the conservative side, they'll bring out like Kanye West and Lil Wayne, because these are prominent people, popular people who have made a deal with the white establishment. That's why they're able to be what they are. And so the white establishment sort of feels comfortable enough to bring them and say, hey, you are the voice of black people. You are the voice of people of color. You are a voice of this said marginalized group. Because I made a deal with you. I can take your money away. So make sure you go out there and say what I want you to say. And that's kind of what they all sort of do. And this is what somebody posted this video actually in response to this video of Fat Joe. So Fat Joe goes on CNN, and so we now know we're in election season. When you start seeing celebrities now talking about politics, I remember Puff Daddy was one of them, or what is he called by P. Diddy? He was at one point enlisted to be that. And I remember the Vote or Die. It was a t-shirt that said Vote or Die on it. And he was promoting that. Jay-Z and Beyonce did it for the Obama one year, and I think Hillary that year that she lost. It's a lot of different celebrities that do it. Common does it. John Legend. Here we have Fat Joe. And remember the words of Malcolm X as you listen to what Fat Joe says in this segment here.
Joe, you have been an enormous advocate for a transparent healthcare system. I mean, you even released a PSA with Rick Ross, with Busta Rhymes, others. Listen to what you have to say. I want everyone to see this.
So, enlist other friends. And the thing is, a lot of these people that they enlist, a lot of these celebrities are so not into politics. They have no idea. So they just kind of fall for whatever the establishment line, and then they go with the blue team because, hey, that's where I see a couple of Latinos. That's where I see at least black people. That's where I see people that look like me. So that must be the side I must be on. That's as deep as their analysis. So let's listen. And Fat Joe's going to give it away. He's going to say a particular phrase, and I'll stop the video and you'll know what I mean when he says it.
Love our nurses.
And we need our doctors.
But hospitals and insurers rigging a system to make profits off of people that's in struggle is unforgivable.
We demand prices and transparency in healthcare. How? To the patients.
First of all, you got the best beard of everyone we just saw. I'm just saying for a second there. Don't tell them. You see it. You see it. I see it. But you have been passionate about this. I'm wondering, given that, Are you optimistic coming out of the address last night that at least that portion will be met?
Well, I know that's what I was doing there, going for healthcare transparency. Over 100 million Americans are in debt due to hospital prices. And so I was over there and I was mingling with everybody. So, I'm a diehard Democrat.
I'm a diehard Democrat. That's what he just said. He said he's a diehard Democrat. So what exactly do you, if you had to assume, what would you assume he's here to do? You have, on one hand, you have a mildly progressive topic, Medicare or healthcare. It's just not Medicare for all. They're just talking about healthcare and the cost of healthcare. And then you have the Democratic Party. Would you say this is going to lead somewhere? You have a topic that's going to draw a lot of people's eyes because everybody needs healthcare, and so many millions of people in the United States is deprived of that. And then you have the Democratic Party. If you're a person of color who admires Fat Joe, who looks up to Method Man, who was in the video, because I like Method Man. Who else is? Oh, who looks up to Rick Ross? You listen to his music. These people will catch your attention. Oh, well, Rick Ross said, and Method Man said, And I was surprised. Public Enemy. Who was that? Don't forget what's his name. Cut D was there at the end. That one was a little bit surprising to see him. I thought he would see this. Now, I don't know if these are two separate things, meaning the organization is not non-political, so it's just strictly trying to get a lower cost for healthcare. I mean, I don't know enough about it to critique it in that way. But just pairing it, and by saying I'm a diehard Democrat, I'm just curious on what else is he going to be saying here.
But I stuck in the speakers gala first because I had to deal with the Republicans. I'm trying to bring this law through bipartisan. Mm-hmm. So I went up in there, stuck in. He saw me. He said, "Fat Joe." He told his wife, "Yo, I got street cred." Fat Joe came to check me. Then they had an incredible spread of food, and in true Democrat fashion, I was the first to eat the food there. And then I talked to everybody about healthcare transparency on the Republican side. Then I went to see Hakeem Jeffries, hung out over there, tore their spread up too, and just hung out with everybody over there and just bringing awareness that America's in a big crisis. A lot of people are losing their homes, losing everything they got due to healthcare prices. And so that's why I was in there. But now the atmosphere.
Now, why isn't he pushing single payer healthcare in this framing? People can't afford it. People don't have it because they can't afford it. People that have it can't afford to use it. So you're here to say what? Just to be transparent?
This was the Super Bowl of politics. So standing room only, I'm upper deck too. I didn't have like a front row. I'm usually courtside at a Knicks game. I'm upper deck. I don't feel too bad because the governor, Kathleen Holcomb from New York, was sitting next to me. So we both was in the cheap seats, right? But we at the time of our lives, the president, vintage Joe Biden. I've been a fan for so many years since he was a senator. He was so...
When he was a senator and he was passing the crime bill? Now, do I need to go back to the Malcolm X video? How did he refer to them? He said, these are puppets. Clowns. Puppets in the sense of they're being told what to say. And I think he said Malcolm X expressed that too later on in the quote.
So sharp. He hit every point he had to hit. He was flawless. He was comedic in a way. The whole thing's theater. So you got him making his points. You got the vice president, my girl Kamala Harris. She's cheering.
Rappers hang out with prosecutors now. That's what happens. That's new. Back in my day, that didn't happen. Back when I used to, when I stayed off of the train tracks by Martin Luther King Hospital, what we call Killer King. I don't remember this. I don't remember that.
Cheering them on, and then you got the speaker behind him making all kind of faces.
A lot
Man,
of
this
faces.
is
Kamala Harris is hated in California by Black people.
theater. This was the all-star game of politics, and I was glad I had a seat in the house.
Well, what about those who were in the crowd heckling? Were you surprised by that? What was your reaction when you saw and heard President Biden responding to calls from the audience? And the audience, of course, were members of Congress.
It showed that he was sharp. It showed that this wasn't like a scripted thing, because he was responding right back to them. To whatever they were saying, he was responding. And that's just the state of politics now. You know, this ain't the back in the days. This is now where you got, you know, everybody screaming out, doing whatever, you know. And that's just the state of politics. That's where we at right now, 2024.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, you said you met with Republicans and Democrats. I'm happy to hear that, because obviously you have been so passionate. You know the only path forward is the bipartisanship on an issue like that. When you spoke to Speaker Johnson, when you talked to Republicans, did you feel more than the fan love? Did your policies, did your proposals, were those resonating?
He told me the speaker told me he was a health attorney before this and knows all about the issue. And he said he's all in. And so we love this Power to the Patients and myself. We love this bill being presented by Bernie Sanders and Senator Braun, which is a bipartisan bill that forces the hospitals to show us the prices. Now, Joe, what's so important about the prices? Well, if you got to have an MRI, there's a such thing going on right now in the same hospital. They could charge four different prices for 4 different patients in the same hospital at the same time. So now we want to know the prices so that we can do our research, look at 3 hospitals, and it builds competition and it helps the Americans. So I'm just spreading.
So this is a bill that does nothing about helping people with prices. It's just so you can see how bad you're not being helped. That's what Fat Joe is doing. So nothing to really challenge the Democratic Party. No legislation to really challenge the Democratic Party, like a Medicare for All bill. People can't afford it. Fuck the prices. How about just give it to everybody, Medicare for All, Fat Joe? Why wouldn't you say that? But he's a diehard Democrat. He was invited there, so of course he's not going to say nothing about Joe Biden. I mean, if he wasn't coached to be this way about the Democratic Party, and he's just this way about the Democratic Party on his own, that's just a damn shame. That's just a damn shame, the way he's praising Joe Biden, the guy, the architect of the 1994 crime bill. Just a damn shame. But I'll play this one again to close out this segment with Fat Joe.
Just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community, and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear. Just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they
always on
call
point.
leaders. This included Lena.
I wish I had the fuller version of this, but I just quickly got it from the stream, the thread from the clip that Case Study QB put out. All right, let's go to the next where am I? StreamYard. Let's go to the next story, and the next story is an article, and let's bring that up. Joe Biden, where am I? Not this one, the Joe Biden war one. So here is the headline. But before we do that, let's take a 2-minute intermission to shout out a couple of things here. One is our website. Scroll in there, Revolutionary Blackout Network.com. This is where you can go to check out almost everything to know about RBN on there, from our chapters, which cities our chapters in, pictures from some of our outreach, renovation pictures, the progression of the renovation of the Detroit library, the RBN library in Detroit. You can check out what we believe. You can check out merch. You can check out our merch. So if you wanted to buy some of our merch, you just hit the RBN merch link on the website. You can go there. Next thing is our Substack. If you want to know when we go live, I'm probably the one that has a schedule that's not always the same. Nick is trying to develop a schedule and stick to it. JB has a schedule. Sabby has a schedule. I'm more, the days is the same, but the timing might be slightly different, just depending on what I'm doing. If you need to contact us, there's our email. And what was the other thing? If you are able to become a Patreon member, $3 is the lowest plan. So that's $36 a year. Not everybody can afford that, but if you can and want to be a member, there's the scrolling URL at the bottom, patreon.com/Rev Black Network. That's the best way to donate. And also scrolling is our Venmo. If you can't do that and want to donate to our Venmo, there's our Venmo. Revolutionary Blackout is our Venmo. Anything else to shout out here? Last thing, hit that like button. The goal of the stream is 800 likes on YouTube. So let's push towards that target. And now let's get back to the stories at hand. And this next one is Biden's budget promotes war. So he just turned in his budget recently, and this article does a pretty good job with summing up what the budget is about. And just this headline: Biden budget promotes war in Ukraine, Middle East, China, and U.S.-Mexico border. Let's read some of this article. I might read all of it. I have it all here. The White House released a draft budget outline Monday afternoon that has two entirely separate audiences. One of the audiences is the working class people who gets false promises, and the other, financial oligarchy, who get money, money, money. For the mass of the American population, the Biden administration makes demagogic promises of social spending to be financed by tax increases on the wealthy, pledges that will be discarded as soon as the election campaign is over. And let's pause there. So he says that the audience, they got to put something in for the public and along with the real shit. The real shit is the war funding. This is the shit they want to do. But they can't just say, here's war funding for our budget. They got to throw in some sweeteners. So they throw in some sweeteners, and the sweeteners, you get the sweeteners if we're able to fund those sweeteners by taxing the rich, which is never going to happen, right? So everything that is promised to us is dependent on tax increases on the wealthy. The war machine just gets regular tax dollars. Let's continue. For the financial, let me go back and finish out this. I'm going to reread this part and continue. For the mass of the American population, the Biden administration makes demagogic promises of social spending to be financed by tax increases on the wealthy, pledges that will be discarded as soon as the election campaign is over. For the financial aristocracy and the military intelligence apparatus, Biden proposes record spending on the military and on domestic and border police repression, together with trillions in interest payments, nearly 5 trillion over the next 10 years, going straight into the coffers of Wall Street and the billionaires. Oh man, this is truly a despicable government. Continuing, naturally, the corporate control media devolves virtually all its coverage to the pie in the sky promises of social benefits that have no purpose except to try and fool the population in an election year, while saying very little about ongoing military buildup and nothing at all about rising interest payments, which will soon be one of the largest components of the federal budget. The social spending component can only be detailed briefly. Biden proposes to restore the child tax credit, enact a new tax law for first-time homebuyers, establish universal pre-K, 12 weeks of paid family leave, substantial forgiveness of college student loan debt, and subsidies for an array of other social services. All this is to be paid by raising corporate income tax to 28%, restoring only half the cut from 35% to 21% enacted under Trump in 2027, and increasing various other taxes on the wealthy. This is, to put it politely, a political fairy tale. Biden made no serious attempts to push through such policies in 2021 and 2022 when the Democrats controlled the House and Senate, allowing a handful of right-wing Democrats in the Senate to block most of it. They're referring to the rotating villains known as, I think it's Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. Remember that? How it was their fault? Yeah, I can read some more of this. Let's continue to read. In any case, the Democratic Party would not enact these measures if it had total control, because the vast bulk of spending is earmarked for war in Ukraine, the Middle East, and further down the road against China in the Indo-Pacific. The promises of social spending are brazen lies that will be discarded on November 6th, if not sooner. The heart of the budget is what it will provide for the Pentagon, a record $850 billion in discretionary budget authority for fiscal year 2025, which begins in October 2024. This represents a 4.1 increase of budget for year 2024, which has still not yet been approved by Congress. Total U.S. military spending will once again top the 1 trillion mark, far more than the 10 largest military budgets of other countries combined. That's where all our money's going for. That's why we can't have health care. That's why we can't have an array of things, is because of this. But so don't be fooled by this budget. All the sweeteners, all the window dressing that's gonna fall. They're gonna take all those window dressings right out November 7th, right after the election. Oh no, that was just for show. That was just for show. That was a floor model. That's not for sale. That's essentially what's going to happen, which they always do. Look what happened with $15 minimum wage. What brought that down? Senate parliamentarian. Voting rights never happened. Now, that's not something I wanted, but the people who support the Democratic Party wanted that. All right, that's it for that story. Let's get to the next one. Let me read this next super chat here before I get to the next story. This one, gifted 5 Revolutionary Black memberships, and that's from Gio. Everybody show some love in the chat for Gio. He's gifted 5 new YouTube memberships. So shout out to Gio. Thank you for all of that. All right, let's get to the next story. And what do we have coming up next? I'm just going down the line here, and that is Haiti under siege, the lies about Haiti gangs. Now, I initially planned this segment with my fingers crossed, hoping that I was going to be able to get one of the great reporters on this particular topic, any topic with Haiti, and that was Dan Cohen. But Dan Cohen, being so busy, he has not responded yet. So I was not able to get him, but I still have some receipts to kind of go over some items here to kind of give you the story of what's happening. Now, of course, anything that you're hearing on corporate media is lies, mistruths, misrepresentations of what's happening in Haiti. One of which is the labeling of gangs. And we talked about this before when Dan was on here. And I'm gonna play this conversation he had with Kim Iverson. I'm gonna play large segments of it where I'm not gonna comment, just to get us a foundation for what we're gonna be talking about. But they talk about a guy named Barbecue, and Barbecue is being described as one of the leaders, if not the top leaders. In corporate media, they call him like the kingpin. He's like the kingpin of gangs. Now, when you have an establishment, you have the U.S. empire labeling somebody a gang, what is your natural reaction? Is your natural reaction to go, oh, that's a bad person? Or if an empire, let's just take this to the movies on Star Wars, if the empire on Star Wars labels Luke Skywalker a gang member, wouldn't that mean that Luke Skywalker is a good guy? That's essentially what's happening here. Barbecue is the one that's trying to raise the consciousness of the people about what's happening to Haiti, essentially. Now, let's listen to this conversation that Kim Iverson has with Dan Cohen. And what's recently bringing a lot of discussion about Haiti is about what's recently happened in Haiti. Haiti is going through a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of fighting that's happening on the ground. There's a lot of jousting by governments that's trying to take advantage of this situation, the U.S. being one of them, the U.S. pressuring the U.S. installed president. And remember, he wasn't democratically elected. He was U.S. installed president. Now they got him to resign, and now there's a vacuum. And so this is all backed by the United States. They're trying to create a situation where military is going to be forced to go into Haiti. That's what's happening, and the United States is absolutely orchestrating it. Now let's listen to this conversation. Now they're talking mostly about Barbecue because that's the focal point of the establishment, because he's seen as the kingpin, the one that's leading what the people on the ground is calling a revolution, but what they're calling like gangs are out of control.
Dan Cohen, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Good to be with you, Kim.
So you've been on the ground covering Haiti. You even did a documentary about Jimmy Barbecue. So just what is your overall impression right now of people, of the narrative that's going around about him? Is it true? Is he eating people? Is he a cannibal?
Yeah, there's a huge propaganda push, very, I would say a parallel to the 40 beheaded babies deception that we saw at the beginning of this Gaza genocide, in order, of course, to justify it. And now we're seeing the claims that Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier is a cannibal and eats people. And there was a video that went viral, pushed by this guy, Dom Lucre. I don't know how you say his name exactly, but this like viral sort of like pro-Trump account, that is of indeed somebody cannibalizing their victim in Haiti, but it's from 2021. It's an old video and it's from a completely different part of the country. So, and the irony is that Jimmy Cherizier is like the anti-crime guy. So he's against horrible things like that, you know, killing innocent people, not only, but this whole idea that cannibalism is rampant, is so far from reality. I mean, that was a really shocking video for basically all Haitians, and the whole point of it, that video of a guy eating a dead body, someone that he had murdered and burned, was to shock and terrorize, and that's exactly what Cherizier is fighting against.
So since this is, I forgot about this part being the cannibalizing video was part of this, was in the beginning. I know that you guys are anxious. So let me make sure I show you what that is. I'm not showing you the video because they recently took it down, actually. Oh, here it goes. This one right there. They took down the video, like YouTube took down the video. Now, the person that he's referring to is this guy, Dom Lucre. I think that's how you say it. This is a viral guy, but he's spreading a bunch of lies. Dan Cohen calls him like a pseudo Trump supporter, but this is the video that he's referring. But this is the call out, calling him out about this video. So he did post the video, Don, and it showed a guy eating somebody. But this was, and Dan Cohen is going to explain exactly who the video shows. But it's clearly not barbecue. But this is the narrative they're trying to sell. This is the propaganda narrative they're trying to sell. So imagine, now I'm not saying barbecue is Fidel Castro or Che Guevara. I'm not saying that at all. But imagine the type of propaganda that the establishment, the empire, would be saying about Che and Fidel during the Cuban Revolution. Imagine what was said, the things they were saying that they were doing to the people, that they were doing, that they were cannibals, that they were doing, not cannibals, but they were just vicious people, despicable people. So that's the same framing that we're seeing here with barbecue, and you're just seeing a lot of propaganda about him and the movement. Now, this is what Dan says about it in the tweet, and I'll read it here before we go back to the video where he kind of explains more. This is absolutely not barbecue, aka Jimmy Cherizier. I think that's how you say it. And has nothing to do with him. It's a video from years ago of a gang member in the Artubanit Valley eating a burnt victim body in order to terrorize the population, and is a very rare occurrence despite media claims. There is a major propaganda push to demonize barbecue in order to pave the way for foreign invasion. This person, Don Lucre, I think that's how you pronounce it, should delete this and check sources before promoting dangerous misinformation. Watch my and Kim's this is not Kim Iverson. He's talking about the documentary, which we're going to watch a little bit of it. Watch his documentary and learn the truth about barbecue and the uprising in Haiti. And he gives the link there. But of course, this guy is not interested in learning or doing anything like that. But now let's go back to the video with Kim, and then we'll continue with corporate media's reaction. Okay, the Kim video is in a different window. So let's go back to the Kim Iverson interview video here and finish out what he says here. Let's listen.
Do we know who that guy was that was eating the person?
Yeah, so that was in the Artibonite Valley, which was the breadbasket of Haiti until the Clintons came along. It's kind of in the central region of the country, and it was like I'd have to like do look exactly what the research is, but it's like some kind of obscure gang member, that in a battle with another one did that to shock people.
Well, it was certainly shocking. I literally was nauseous when I watched that. It made me kind of sick to my stomach. Just ugh. So, but that's not Jimmy Barbecue, and it doesn't even look like him.
Right, exactly. That guy, like most Haitians, is like pretty skinny, and does not look like him at all. And Jimmy Barbecue is, he's got a hefty belly on him.
He got a chunky.
He's
He
got a
kind of
more
chunky.
kind of round head. It does not look like him at all. But I mean, that claim has been all over. Elon Musk is promoting it. Nayib Bukele,
Wow.
the president of El Salvador,
They don't care
is
if it's
quoting
truth
it
or
and
not.
saying, "See, we can go and clean up the gang situation in Haiti." So it's a really kind of dangerous moment.
What is it that Jimmy Barbecue, first of all, why does he have that nickname then if it isn't for barbecuing people and eating them, which
Here's
is
the
what
story
the
behind
implication
that.
is right now. So why does he have that nickname?
Yeah, so that claim originated in a Vice news piece. Vice, which is basically did like CIA propaganda on Haiti, collaborated with an NED funded so-called human rights group called the RNDDH that has a very, very notorious history of basically supporting coup d'etats and pumping out terrible disinformation in Haiti. And so that was in this Vice piece, and they said it's because he likes to burn people alive. But the reality is, when he was a kid in the streets of Port-au-Prince, there were a bunch of other Jimmys, and his mother sold grilled meats on the street, so he became Jimmy Barbecue.
Oh, so it was just a nickname from childhood, just because that's what his
Exactly.
parents did. Kind of like if you're a baker with your last name, right? And it's
Right.
It's because that was your family trade. Okay, so
Right.
that's why he's Jimmy Barbecue. So in your getting to know him, have you talked to him recently? So when did you do the documentary?
We so right after the president of Haiti was assassinated in July 2021, I reached out to Kim Ives, your almost namesake, and
Right.
who's a longtime Haiti reporter. I me's the English language editor for Haiti Liberté, which is the largest weekly newspaper in Haiti. He's based in Brooklyn. So I immediately contacted him, who I'd known, and he told me, this guy, this is about really about stomping out this revolutionary movement that's emerging from the slums. I was like, Kim, can we go down there? Can I meet this guy, Barbecue? So we went down there shortly after in July 2021, made another trip a few months later, and then we released the documentary in November 2022, right as we went down there to film another piece, which I did for Redacted. And then I was there again in August of 2023, and then I was just in Haiti again interviewing Barbecue for another piece we're working on right before all this stuff kicked off. About 3 weeks ago, I was there.
Oh, wow.
All right. Here is the next part. Now, I do want to give a little bit more fuller information to the story, kind of just hovering around what's going on. And we're going to go to the Black Agenda report for this next receipt here. Let me make this a little bit smaller so more can fit here. All right, so this is the Black Agenda report, and the headline is Haiti behind the headline, and this is actually was just written today. So let's read just a little bit of this. The Black Alliance for Peace lays out the reality of the ongoing crisis in Haiti, rejecting the mainstream narrative of crisis of gangs. So just going to directly to the point of the lies that they're talking about, that they're spreading. They're spreading the lies that that Haiti has a gang problem. That's the narrative that they're selling, if I didn't make that clear earlier, with the title Haiti Under Siege, the lies about Haiti gangs. And that's what they label them. But let's listen, or let's read what it says here. Haiti is in the headlines again, and as usual, the headlines on Haiti are mostly negative. They are also largely false. Haiti, they tell us, is overrun by gang violence. Haiti is a failed state, standing on the verge of anarchy and teetering on the edge of collapse. Haiti, they tell us, can only be stabilized and saved through foreign military invasion and occupation. We have seen these stories before. We know their purpose. They serve to cover up the true origins of the crisis in Haiti while justifying foreign military intervention and setting up an attack on Haiti's sovereignty. So that's what this is about. Selling fear, gangs, in order to sell the solution of military intervention. What is the reality behind the headlines? The reality is that the crisis in Haiti is a crisis of imperialism. Those countries calling for military intervention, the US, France, Canada, have created the conditions making military intervention appear necessary and inevitable. The same countries calling for intervention are the same countries that will benefit from intervention, not the Haitian people. And for 20 years, those countries that cast Haiti as a failed state actively worked to destroy Haiti's government while imposing foreign colonial rule. On Haiti, the position of the Black Alliance for Peace has been consistent and clear. We reject the sensationalistic headlines in Western media with their racist assumptions that Haiti is ungovernable and the Haitian people cannot govern themselves. We support the efforts of Haitian peoples to assert their sovereignty and reclaim their country. We denounce the ongoing imperialist onslaught of Haiti and demand the removal of Haiti's foreign colonial rulers. What's going on in Haiti? The crisis in Haiti is a crisis of imperialism. They just kind of give a breakdown here, but hang on a second here. All right, so I'll go ahead and read this. The crisis in Haiti is a crisis of imperialism, but what does that mean? It means that the failure of governance in Haiti is not something internal to Haiti, but it is a result of a concerted effort on the part of the West to gut the Haitian state and destroy popular democratic democracies in Haiti. Haiti is currently under occupation by the US, UN, and core group, a self-appointed cabal of foreign entities who effectively rule the country. And if you see the picture of these people, they all no African, no person of dark skin at all in this group. The occupation of Haiti began in 2004 with the U.S., France, Canada sponsored coup d'etat against Haiti's democratically elected president. The coup d'etat was approved by the UN Security Council. It established an occupying military force, euphemistically called peacekeeping mission, with the acronym, and you see it there, MINUSTA. Though the MINUSTA mission officially ended in 2017, the UN office in Haiti was reconstructed as BIHUH, B-I-H-U-H. BINIB, and it looks like it's misspelled here, along with the core group countries, continues to have a powerful role in Haitian affairs. Over the past 4 years, the Haitian masses have mobilized and protested against an illegal government, imperial meddling, and the removal of fuel subsidies, leading to rising costs of living and insecurity by elite-funded armed groups. However, these protests have been snuffed out by U.S.-installed puppet governments. There's a lot here to go through, and we're not going to go through all of it. But the point being, because I do have some other receipts I want to show, and maybe I'll get back to this article. The point being is that Haiti is a country that has a lot of you can say colonial Western chauvinist country animosity because of the Haitian Revolution and because of what they were able to do. So they've kind of always been sort of showing this hatred, always willing to do something bad to the country in any way. If they can help in destabilizing the country, that's what they want to do in Haiti. And this latest sort of uproar about gangs in Haiti is simply a propaganda tool to make, what I say about propaganda? They just want to create the conditions to make it fertile for you to buy bullshit down the line. So this is just making it for fertile ground for them to sell. What's the bullshit down the line? Foreign military invasion. That's the point of what's happening here and the uproar of what's happening in Haiti. And barbecue is just one of the scapegoats they're using in this nonsense that's going on, this propaganda campaign against Haiti. Let's go back to Twitter, so I can, because I do want to show you a couple of things on Twitter. One of which is the documentary that they speak about in this interview with Kim Iverson. The documentary. Did I go too far down? Maybe I went too far down. 1 second here. The documentary is coming up somewhere. Here it goes. The documentary kind of talks about the state of play also in Haiti. So let's listen. This may be the first several minutes of it. I'll read what's on the screen once it pops up. It says, "It is within this mass of humanity, this people of the shanty town, at the core of the lumpen proletariat, that the rebellion will find its urban spearhead." The lumpen proletariat that constitute one of the most spontaneous and most radical forces of a colonized people. And any movement for freedom ought to give its fullest attention to this lumpen proletariat. That's Frantz Fanon.
2 centuries ago, the slaves of the French colony Saint-Domingue broke the chains of chattel slavery and colonialism. They called their new nation by its indigenous Arawak name, Haiti. The example and ideals of the Haitian revolutionaries spread throughout the hemisphere, leading over the next century and a half to liberation movements worldwide. Ever since that seminal revolution, North America and Europe have punished Haiti for its vanguard role through sanctions, dictatorships, coups d'etats, and invasions. Today, Haiti is a neo-colony of the United States, France, and Canada. Throughout it all, the Haitian people have resisted not only their subjugation, but the discrediting and vilification of their culture and fight for self-determination. This documentary series will push back against the disinformation deployed against Haiti and show how its so-called gang violence is in reality the continuation of a 200-year class struggle against exploitation and oppression.
So if we were to start a revolution here in the United States, the empire would call us gangs. That's what empires call groups of people fighting against the empire. Terrorists is another. That's the latest. That's like another version, another iteration of the same thing, the same sort of a concept.
One of Haiti's top gang leaders.
One of Haiti's most notorious, most powerful gang leaders. Jimmy Cherizier. Known as Barbecue.
Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier. His threats risk plunging Haiti into deeper chaos.
Qui est Barbecue?
Monsieur Barbecue.
C'est un criminel. pays d'Haïti et y compris Bénin.
Soit défendre cause moun, l'Éternel va la façon.
Jimmy Chéri c'est alias barbecue, entrer la caille moun, li casser caille moun, li plier caille moun, li médifier caille moun. Problème li gave nous. Li te vle guider nous, non façon pour nous voler même j'avais. Nous même tout si nous pas besoin voler. Parce que c'est mon l'école, c'est mon social. Problème li c'est que li te vle nous entrer dans notre team Genève en familial.
Jimmy, how do you respond to these accusations?
Je vais répondre et mon cap parler. Raison que je pas répondre.
Now, I'm just going to read a little bit of what he's saying just so you get his response, because this is all going to have to be translated. So I'll read some of his response and then we'll get to another receipt and move on to the next story.
Non façon pour nous voler même j'avais. Nous même tout si nous pas besoin voler. Parce que c'est mon l'école, c'est mon social. Problème c'est que il te vle nous entrer dans notre team Genève en familial.
Jimmy, how do you respond to these accusations?
I'm not going to respond to the person. I can't see where it says. Speaking. The reason I won't respond to him is because he was a kid in Roermond when I lived there. I have a house in Roermond where he was a kid who used to come to me begging for money and I would give it to him. Today, I'm fighting against a system. And this level I struggle. I'm not going to lower myself to reply to a civilian who was lying about me. We have more important things to address. We have a country to save. All those are lies. It's the system seeking to destroy me, because today I dare to denounce that system. This is a revolution that's happening, and that's what they're labeling them, gangs, just like they would label us a gang of people fighting, just like they labeled, Fidel Castro and J. Kava gangs. There's a lot here that I wanted to cover, but again, I'll schedule probably Margaret Kimberly too, and Dan Cohen for an interview, but I still wanted to cover just the basics of it, even without him. Now let's listen to how corporate media is covering what's happening in Haiti. This is what he's referring to, the lies. This is what they're all referring to, and I'm talking about Dan, I'm talking about Kim, and all the interviews we've been watching. This is corporate media spin on it.
Also tonight, Haiti's prime minister announcing he will step down as armed gangs rampage in the capital. We get more from Andrea Mitchell.
With criminal gangs overrunning his country, Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry agreeing to step down as soon as the Transitional Governing Council is created. His resignation under pressure after a crisis meeting Secretary of State Tony Blinken held with Caribbean leaders in Jamaica late into the night.
A political crisis, escalating violence, unrest. This has created an untenable situation for the Haitian people.
Henry is widely blamed for the worst turmoil in Haiti's long, troubled history. Gangs attacking police stations, breaking prisoners out of jail, looting the port, thousands displaced.
They're selling their stuff to survive. Political and security crisis has turned into a humanitarian crisis.
Henry has denied a judge's report he helped plot the assassination of Haiti's president in 2021. He promised to hold elections but never did. A U.S. special envoy in Haiti quit to protest U.S. policy there. What do you think is the critical problem?
We have never let them choose their leaders. The U.S. needs to give them space. Just one time. That's all they're asking.
In Florida's Haitian-American community, Terry Isaac is desperate to rescue his wife and 6-month-old baby with a heart condition.
Not knowing whether or not those guys are eventually going to pop up in your neighborhood and start shooting people and start doing crazy things.
The UN voted last year for Kenya to lead a multinational force to restore order. But tonight, Kenya says it won't go in until Haiti has a new government. Lester.
Andrea Mitchell, thank you.
So that's the narrative from corporate media, which is just, lies. Let's continue. I think this last one here I want to show. Play a little bit of this. Let me set it up this way. This is Democracy Now. Haiti's unelected prime minister says he will resign after months of unrest with transitional council to take over. Haitian American scholar, her name is Jemima Pierre, says it's unlikely to end the crisis as long as the U.S. and other countries continue interfering in Haitian affairs. Let's listen to her point of view here.
Announcement, we believe from Puerto Rico that he will be stepping down and what exactly that means.
Good morning, Amy. Thanks for having me back again. I wanted to, it is interesting what many people are saying is that how could a prime minister that was not chosen by the people or any elected official resign when he didn't have a mandate to begin with. And so what I see and what many see is this charade apparently happening in the sense that they're trying to put a veneer of legality on this situation, basically saying that Henri has to resign in order to have a presidential council in order to move on with so-called free and fair elections. And so to me, the people making decisions continue to make the decisions, and the resignation is only a veneer of legality for those making the decisions. And that itself is a problem that is not going to be solved.
And Professor Pierre, all the coverage that we're getting here in the United States is of chaos created by gangs in the street. You have a different perspective and view of these so-called gangs, and you actually object to that use of that term. Could you talk about why and the role of the gangs in forcing Henri out?
Well, like I said yesterday, the problem that people focus on and what makes the media, what makes the mainstream news in the U.S. is just pictures of extreme violence by these groups. I don't like the term gangs because I don't think these are gangs. It's an extremely terrible and racialized term used, especially when it comes to people from Haitian nations like Haiti. And I think these are armed groups. Some are paramilitaries and some are just armed groups that have access to guns. And in that sense, we have to be clear that this is not a bunch of people running around in terms of thinking about movies from the 1990s in the U.S. about gangs. And so that's the first. The second thing is that the so-called gang violence is actually not the main problem in Haiti. The main problem in Haiti is the constant interference of the international community. And the international community here is very explicitly the U.S., France, and Canada. What's fascinating about yesterday's negotiations with CARICOM is the fact that the key negotiators, so-called foreign negotiators outside of the CARICOM countries were U.S., France, Canada, and Mexico. What's fascinating, and that's problematic in itself because it was U.S., France, and Canada that were behind the coup d'etat that removed our elected president that led us to this, the precipice that we're in right now. And so how is it that France, of all places, why is it all the way in the Caribbean negotiating on behalf of Haiti? The other part is these negotiations were happening. The foreign governments met first in a secret meeting that did not include Haitian participants, and then later on let in the Haitian participants. And then the foreign governments laid out rules of engagement, which means that you cannot be part of the discussion if you don't agree, first of all, to this foreign military intervention that the U.S. is planning for Haiti. And so that tells us, what does that tell us? That the U.S. makes the decisions, that this is the status quo, and that the same things that happen now will flare up again later.
And what interest does the U.S. have in Haiti and Canada as well?
This is the part we're going to end on that I was waiting for her to end on. It is a longer interview, but we're listening to a little bit less than half. But this is the question we're going to end on.
Right. People always ask, why is it that the U.S. has so much interest in Haiti? And we have to ask that from the very beginning, because the U.S. has been trying to control Haiti for a very long time, since the late 1800s, when it wanted the Mont Saint Nicolas Island outlay inlet, the top part of the island, because the Haiti's on the Windward Passage, which is a direct route to through there to the Panama Canal for the U.S. to reach Asia. The U.S. needs to have a very strong force there in order to stave off, Cuba, Venezuela, and so on. The U.S. needs Haiti for its corporations and cheap labor, because Haiti has a 12 million people in its population, the largest country in CARICOM, and Haiti's been destabilized by the U.S. over and over again. And this mission, I wanted to also say, this mission that people are calling a UN mission is a problem, because it is not a UN mission. It's a UN sanctioned mission. But if people read the print of the resolution that allows for this deployment, and it's a Chapter 7 deployment, which means that these forces can use extreme force by land, air, and sea. If they read the agreement, it says that it's not officially a UN mission. It's a mission led by volunteer states. That means that they have to pay for it, which is why Blinken, and the U.S. said that the Department of Defense is adding more money, and that's why Blinken is paying for the Kenyans $200 million. Now it's $300 million to come in and do this. And so this not being an official UN mission means that it's actually more precarious for Haitian people, because when we think about human rights, at least we had the veneer of protection under a UN occupation when we had MINUSTA, the UN occupation, occupy Haiti from 2004 to 2017. And everyone remembers what this occupation meant for Haitians. It meant cholera that killed 10 to 30 million and sickened, 10 to 30,000 and sickened 1 million. That brought lots of extrajudicial killings and murders and sexual exploitation of young girls and women in Haiti. And so for us, what occupation means is this. And so now, and these were the people who were under UN rules of engagement. This mission to Haiti is not under UN rules of engagement. And for people to say, for those running these negotiations to say that the first requirement to be able to participate in this conversation is to allow this foreign force of Kenyans who don't speak English, who are known for their human rights abuses, to me, that's a very big problem. And I have to say just one thing quickly. This reminds me of something that Dantes Bellegarde, who was a Haitian diplomat in the early 1900s while Haiti was also under occupation, where he said, God is too far and the United States is too close. And I think that this is what a lot of people are feeling right now in Haiti.
God is too far and the United States is too close. That is a very poignant point that she makes there in the end, but that is sort of the latest that's happening in Haiti. Like I said, we'll try to get Dan Cohen on, maybe Margaret Kimberly on, to talk further about this issue. But that was a great summation by Jemima Pierre. I believe that's how you say her name. All right, let's quickly go through the last couple of stories here. This next one is a quick article, but this is surprising. So the humanitarian, where is it at? The humanitarian port that President Biden wants to build off the shores of Gaza was actually Netanyahu's idea. Where is it? Oh, here it goes. So let's go to the headline. It's just a headline, and then the story. So, and this is an exclusive. This is from the Jerusalem Post, and we can start here. The Gaza humanitarian port was Netanyahu's idea from the jump, and this article proves that from the Jerusalem Post. And I'll read the headline. It says, diplomatic source to the Post, Gaza maritime route was Netanyahu's idea, and this is an exclusive. I haven't seen it reported on anywhere else. I tried to check for some other reporting. Right here we go. The plan for a maritime route to Gaza via Cyprus to provide humanitarian assistance for Palestinians was initiated by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in collaboration with U.S. President Joe Biden. A senior diplomat source told the Jerusalem Post on Sunday, quote, Netanyahu took the initiative to establish maritime humanitarian aid for the civilian population in Gaza Strip in collaboration with the Biden administration, a source stated. According to the source, on October 22nd, 2 weeks following the war's breakout, Netanyahu, this is 2 weeks after October 7th, Netanyahu discussed with President Biden the concept of, quote, delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza via sea, contingent on an Israeli inspection in Cyprus. Quote, then on October 31st, Prime Minister Netanyahu outlined this strategy to the Cyprus president. I'll just leave it there. The source added, in addition, quote, the matter was revisited on January 19th during a dialogue between Prime Minister Netanyahu and the President of the United States, where Netanyahu proposed, according to the source, quote, I want to suggest setting up a team to explore maritime supply through Cyprus after a thorough inspection of all goods. This source, close to the prime minister, insinuated that Biden was simply implementing a plan by Netanyahu, not actually initiating anything new. So the Biden administration is selling us on, oh, I'm hearing you guys. I heard your voices in Dearborn. I heard your voices in Michigan. I heard the uncommitted voice. And this is the plan I came up with. The plan that Netanyahu suggested back in October of 2023. And then again brought it back in January. That's what they're trying to sell us on now. Let's continue. The source spoke with the Jerusalem Post at a time of heightened diplomatic tensions between Biden and Netanyahu, as the U.S. president has sought to distance himself from the Israeli prime minister as part of the 2024 re-election campaign. So maybe because President Biden is trying to distance himself from Netanyahu said, hey, go ahead and go leak that. Go leak that shit about that plan, the maritime plan that he's trying to take credit for. Yeah, leak that to the Jerusalem Post. Maybe, just saying. Biden made headlines at his State of the Union address to Congress last Thursday when he announced that the U.S. military planned to build an emergency temporary port off the Gaza coastline to help facilitate entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza. He made the statement in the light of hunger crisis in Gaza and to underscore the U.S. commitment to helping the Palestinian people during Israel's military campaign to destroy Hamas. The move was viewed as a criticism. Remember, he was trying to position it as, oh, you don't want to give them humanitarian aid? Well, I'm going to do this. They try to position it that way. Like, I'm doing this as a criticism for you not letting aid in. But it's not. The move was also viewed as a criticism of Netanyahu by the United States. With Biden stating in his speech on Thursday that Israel could and should do more to help Palestinians in Gaza. Years before the Gaza war, Israel Katz, now the foreign minister, had drawn up plans for a maritime route via Cyprus involving a floating island. So this is an old idea being recycled. The project was never executed, but he viewed it after the war began in October 7th. One of the complicating factors with a maritime route was the absence of a port in Gaza, but enough to handle cargo ships. Big enough to handle cargo ships. Israel has welcomed Biden's announcement of a military operation to build a temporary port. The defense minister of Israel, together with the Navy commander, the head of the COGAT, military secretary, and commander of Navy, were briefed Sunday on the work needed to establish a naval pier and routes that will enable the distribution of aid to civilians. So that's the backstory on how this idea came about. It is not in response. They didn't listen to the protests and came up with this. This wasn't a counter to Netanyahu. This is an idea that has been floating around apparently in the Israeli government and most recently by Netanyahu. There you go. All right, let's get to this. Now, this is the last story that I knew for sure I would be able to fit in. There is still the tragic absurdity of Biden's Gaza policy, and also Abby Martin, Israeli doctor, urged the bombing of hospitals. So, but this is the story we're on now. Let me throw out these super chats before we continue with this next story. It says, since 1804, the U.S. has made sure none else rebelled. No one else rebelled. And that is absolutely true. And thank you for gifting oh no, you bought a membership for 2 months, and that's Ed Royce. What's up, Ed? Welcome, brand new member, and thank you for the super chat. This one from ARJ 1997. Western colonial powers will never stop interfering and intervening with Haiti because they have valuable resources to steal. Exactly. With UN help and slave labor to exploit, Haiti pays for its quest for freedom and sovereignty. That is a spot-on super chat. Thank you for that $20 super chat. I very much appreciate it. And I'll just shout this out. I don't think you could give your just due. A Brighton71 giving us that super sticker there. All right. Again, hit that like button. 800 is the goal. 800 likes is the goal. So if you hit that like button, you can get us there on YouTube. Let's get to the story at hand. This next one is with Pramila Jayapal and involves Richard Herr, because you know about Richard Herr testifying on Capitol Hill. You know what he's testifying about. This essentially is a beat up on Richard Herr congressional session. You have the Republicans saying, hey, forget that he's senile, you still should indict him. And then you got Democrats saying, you exonerated him, huh? And why are you saying all of this stuff? Right? Now, with that said, there was somebody who was vigorously going after Richard, and you would think it's be a corporate Democrat, but no. We traveled to the Progressive Caucus and pick, I believe she's the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus, Pramila Jayapal. She does such a good job that she's actually brought on Wolf Blitzer to talk about how such of a good job she did. So let's cover that. Let's first play the exchange between her, and she thought she was winning here.
So this lengthy, expensive, and independent investigation resulted in a complete exoneration of President Joe Biden. For every document you discussed in your report, you found insufficient evidence that the president violated any laws about possession or retention of classified materials. The primary law that you analyzed for potential prosecution was part of the Espionage Act, 18 U.S.C. 793E, which criminalizes willful retention or disclosure of national defense information. Is that correct?
Congresswoman, that is one statute that we analyzed. I need to go back and make sure that I take note of a word that you used, exoneration. That is not a word that
I'm
appears
going
in
to
the
continue
report, and
with
that's
my
not part of my
questions.
task as a
I'm going to continue
prosecutor.
with my questions.
The
I
judgment
know
that I
that the
received,
term.
that I ultimately reached
I
related
know
to
that the
whether sufficient
term.
evidence existed such that the likely
You didn't.
outcome
You
would be
exonerated
a
him.
conviction.
I know that
did
the
not
term.
Now, why would he started to give his answer, right? And because when he got to the part where he's talking about, wait, I need to correct what you're saying here. She was quiet and letting him talk up until the part when she said, I never said he's exonerated. So you have the person who wrote the report. So there's no more interpretation needed about this report. Oh, it reset. I'll go back to it. There's no interpretation needed about this report. You don't need to read the report, because this is what was going on about the report. You would go to Fox News and say, it says that he's not exonerated. You would go to CNN and MSNBC and they would say, oh, it says here that he's exonerated. So you had two sides able to read something and come to two different conclusions. But now you have the actual person in front of you where you can ask him, are you saying he's exonerated or not? That's not what she said. She says, you are telling me in this report he's exonerated. That's what you mean, sir. Yeah, you wrote it, but this is what you mean. So this is the fight she has here.
So this lengthy, expensive, and independent investigation resulted in a complete exoneration of President Joe Biden. For every document you discussed in your report, you found insufficient evidence that the president violated any laws about possession or retention of classified materials. The primary law that you analyzed for potential prosecution was part of the Espionage Act, 18 U.S.C. 793E, which criminalizes willful retention or disclosure of national defense information. Is that correct?
Congresswoman, that is one statute that we analyzed. I need to go back and make sure that I take note of the word that you used, exoneration. That is not a word that
I'm
appears
going
in
to
the report,
continue
and
with
that's
my
not part of my
questions.
task as a
I'm going to continue
prosecutor.
with my questions.
You know how yellow and cowardly you got to be to talk over that particular part about exoneration? Now, it's a tell to me that's clearly because she knows that was a fib. She slipped in the fib, and you're not going to point out her fib. So she'll just talk over you.
My questions. I
Judgment
know
that I
that the
received,
term.
that I ultimately reached
I
related
know
to
that the
whether
term.
sufficient evidence existed such that the likely
You didn't.
outcome
You
would be
exonerated
a
him.
conviction.
I know
I
that
did
the
not
term
exonerate him. That
willful
word does not appear in
retention
the
has a.
report.
The
Mr.
guy
Hood, it's my time.
who wrote
Thank
the
you.
report is right
So
here.
this lengthy,
and you're
expensive, and
the guy who wrote the report is right there, and you're telling him what he meant by what he wrote. She was so proud of this, she tweeted it herself, the longer version of it, saying the main story of the special counsel report is, despite Republican lies and misinformation, there was not evidence that President Biden willfully retained any classified material. That is the bottom line outcome of this investigation. That's not at all what he says. So let's listen to Pramila Jayapal, because Pramila Jayapal, along with AOC, along with Bernie Sanders, they appear to be Joe Biden's most staunchest, most loudest surrogates this cycle. The progressives are that. Just astonishing. Let's listen to this 4-minute interview that's just terrible.
Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal is joining us now live. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. By using that word, an explosive word, exonerate, did you actually wind up helping make Republicans point that President Biden did willfully retain classified documents?
Wolf, it's always good to be with you. And no, look, the common definition of exonerate is to absolve of any blame. And that is exactly what the 345-page report.
There she goes again, saying that it says that, and it does not.
That Robert Hur did showed that he had insufficient evidence to prosecute Joe Biden on any of the charges that he was investigating. And so he was not able to show that Joe Biden willfully retained classified documents.
Think about what you have to be a progressive. You have to have the ability to talk about progressive things like Palestine. But in order, the deal you have made to be able to talk about Palestine is you have to make a deal on other CIA, NATO, U.S. empire talking points. That's the deal. So look how shameless, you know how shameless you got to be kowtowing to Joe Biden at this point. This is the relationship. This is the dynamic of the relationship for progressives with the Democrats and the president. It's criticize him a little bit, and then they go over here and kowtow and bow to him. They need to make sure. Am I saying enough establishment shit? Am I saying enough NATO talking points to be okay with the other shit that I said? I know I pissed you off with the Palestinian shit, but I'm here now to suck off the fucking U.S. empire to prove that I'm still a lapdog for you. That's essentially what Pramila Jayapal is doing here.
And that he was, that he was guilty. So he was arguing it was a distinction without a difference, in my opinion. Maybe he was auditioning for to be Trump's attorney general, but you can't have a 345-page report that literally lays out charge after charge that you found insufficient evidence to be able to move forward with, and then say that somehow that person is not absolved of blame. And that is what the word exonerate means in common language. Now, obviously he was trying to use a legal term of
oh, you mean the legal guy was trying to use a legal term in a legal proceeding? That's weird. This looks so like pitiful. One, that she's throwing herself on the sword, throwing herself in the fire, fighting like a gladiator against Richard Herr, for Joe Biden, who don't even fucking like you, and you're barely hanging on a string here because of your stance on Palestinians.
Of exoneration, but you can look it up in Merriam-Webster dictionary. Exonerate is actually what happened in this report.
Herr said today that he, quote, did not sanitize, I'm quoting him now, he did not sanitize my explanation, nor did I disparage the president unfairly. How do you respond to that?
I think he was trying to have it all ways. He was trying to say that he was fair, but I understand that he, felt that he had to show his work. He kept saying that, but there are lots of ways to show your work without prejudicing the report and the person that is in the report. And that's why typically these documents are not made public. They are usually classified, but he knew, he's a very smart guy. He knew this one was going to be made public. And I think there are plenty of ways he could have characterized his belief that a jury would take a number of factors into consideration without prejudicing and drawing conclusions that I feel were very inappropriate about President Joe Biden.
On another important topic, I want to question you on, very important. You've announced you won't support this latest effort to try to force a vote on an aid package for Ukraine and Taiwan because it also includes aid for Israel. Would you support this aid if it includes conditions on that military aid to Israel?
Now, a progressive would say, after seeing the genocide, would say, no, there's no conditions because the government is a genocidal government. And then who's going to believe they're going to follow it? That's what she should say. Let's listen to what she says, though.
I think that is a discussion that is very worth having. And I would just say that this whole situation that we're in is because Republicans have refused to support aid to Ukraine. Speaker Johnson has the responsibility to put the Senate passed bill on the floor. He has not done that because of the Ukraine aid. I will tell you, Wolf, that I would support a discharge petition today if it included only the Ukraine aid. If it included Taiwan aid, I would be fine. Obviously, if it
So she thinks she's on some sort of moral high ground because she only wants to send millions of dollars to the Nazis in Ukraine, not the Nazis in Israel. So she's saying, I'm better than you because I don't want to send money to the Nazis in Israel, but I sure as hell want to send money to the Nazis in Ukraine. And she thinks she has the moral high ground. This is literally encapsulates the progressive Democrats and progressives in general, social Democrats.
included the humanitarian aid for Gaza and for other places, that would also be very good. But I think you would see a completely united Democratic caucus on the issue of aid for Ukraine. And, that is something that we should consider. But certainly, if we start looking at conditions, real conditions on aid to Israel, I would support defensive aid, Iron Dome aid for Israel today, because I think that's important.
So she still would support the aid. How if I'm how are Palestinians, how are they supposed to look at progressives as an ally? An ally that supplies the weapons and the bullets, and an ally that wants to, not haven't yet, that wants to supply humanitarian aid. How is a Palestinian supposed to read a progressive Democrat, a social democrat, aka a liberal? How are they supposed to read them as an ally? It's very schizophrenic. Let's let her finish out. It's a few more seconds.
It's important to protect Israelis. But what I won't do is continue to support United States offensive military aid going in to kill people in Gaza when Benjamin Netanyahu has continued to say that he is completely opposed to a two-state solution. He has continued to encourage the expansion of settlements in the West Bank, and he's continued to block humanitarian aid to the Palestinians in Gaza, even though we are providing him with that offensive military aid. I think that is absolutely untenable.
Representative Pramila.
And you see the position she has to make. She has to come on and kowtow to a establishment talking point about Richard Hur in the report, and then in the same segment pivot to being against an establishment, pseudo against, because again, if it has conditions, she'll be down for it. But that's essentially it represents just social democracy, progressive Democrats, progressives in the United States. So the one I was not able to get to will be the article, but I will play this as an outro video. The Abby video I'll play, and I'll probably start. I'll play the Abby video as an outro video. I do got to get going, get on the road, pick up my teenage daughter from school. So I'm gonna get going. Hey, everybody, hit that like button. We got over 1,400 people watching over all platforms. We got something, man. We got a lot of people on Twitter. We got 700 watching through Nick's tweet stream. We got over 200 people through the main tweet stream. We got over 350 people on one of the YouTube pages. So everybody hit that like button. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, make sure you get us to 800 likes for this stream. Very, very important for the algorithm. I'll leave you with this video, and thank you for watching.
I want to get your response to this that happened in early November when dozens of Israeli doctors circulated the following statement on social media. They said the residents of Gaza who saw fit to turn the hospitals into terrorist nests in an attempt to take advantage of Western morality are the ones who brought their destruction upon themselves. Terrorism must be eliminated everywhere and in any way. Attacking terrorist headquarters located inside a hospital is the right and even the duty of the IDF. For me, it seemed particularly shocking given how I thought, despite your political affiliation, once again, that every doctor pledges the Hippocratic Oath. And so I don't know how your reaction was to this letter that was circulating of doctors actually urging the IDF, yes, bomb hospitals.
Well, it goes against everything that is the essence of providing healthcare to people. I'm not just a part of a humanitarian NGO. I'm not just an emergency room physician, but I'm also the director of medical ethics for our emergency department. And this is outrageous. There's not a single respectable person in the entire medical community or in the bioethics community that would agree with anything that was just said. You cannot bring politics and policy into healthcare, because when you start doing that, then you're going to inevitably develop inequities towards whoever it is. That's just what happens. You cannot bring any sort of preconceived notions, because down the line, somewhere, there's a patient that you think could be excluded from healthcare, could be excluded from being treated, can be excluded from just basic human rights. And so this is It's not only inaccurate, all of the things that they're saying, but it goes against everything that we're trying to preach about healthcare. It goes against every stance that people took in Ukraine when a hospital was hit or when a hospital was targeted. And so I would say the same energy that we had with the healthcare systems and the hospital systems in Ukraine is the same energy you need to have in the Gaza Strip. And if you don't have that, if you don't have that sort of same approach, principled approach, that moral consistency, then we shouldn't be listening to anything you have to say. And I mean, I have that same problem with, the American Medical Association and many professional societies here in the States. They have not even uttered